appear in the URL address bar. If you aren't being observant, you might not notice that. So you want to look for what's out of place in the application. Are there HTML comments left behind? You can use your browser to look at the HTML source, and the HTML comments are supposed to be all deleted before the developers go to production, but sometimes development teams forget. They get very busy, they're in a hurry, and the comments are left behind. Every attacker is going to look for those because it's easy, and you never know what you'll find. You also want to look to see what has changed when you're forcing these error conditions. Did a new parameter appear in the URL address bar? Always use the developer tools in your browser. Look at the information in the HTML headers. Sometimes even something as small as a typo could lead an attacker to finding an application vulnerability. So be observant to those small changes and look to see what's out of place. The fourth attribute is taking good notes. You never know when you're going to see something that might be helpful later, especially when it comes to these error messages that have technical details. So copy and paste is going to be your friend today. So don't rely on your memory. When you find error messages with technical details, just copy and paste that information somewhere. Or if you find information that appears to be encoded or encrypted, copy it somewhere, because encoding is not security. There are lots of different methods of encoding: base64 encoding, HTML encoding, UTF-8 encoding. None of that's security. So if that data is encoded, you can always find a website that will decode it back to plain text. Now, encryption, when done correctly, is security. However, if the developers of the application aren't familiar with how to use encryption correctly, and they just chose an encryption algorithm randomly because they thought they were all the same, well, they may have chosen an encryption algorithm that is broken. And you might be able to find a website that will decrypt that information back to plain text, and maybe you can use that sensitive information to find a vulnerability. You also definitely want to look at the layouts of each page. You want to look for hidden fields. Sometimes developers will make a terrible assumption that hidden fields are secure. They are not. Using the developer tools, anybody can look at those hidden fields and change the information in them. These are just inputs. And remember, I want you to change the inputs, tamper with them. Don't give the application what it wants, give them something different. But also be thorough when you're examining the shred application. If you see any extra information about how the application was built or anything that might be useful, copy and paste it somewhere, just so you don't have to re-find it again when you're need that information. And finally, be evil to the application, and that takes some creativity. Maybe you'll find a vulnerability that will allow you to drop a table in the database, which is great. That might score you some points. However, if you have that kind of access to the database, what else could you do that might be a lot sneakier? Maybe you could just change some data in a table that would allow you to abuse the functionality of the application. So be creative when you're being evil. Now notice that the very last bullet on this slide is send live ants to your enemies. Well, we turn that feature off. However, I do want you to be that kind of creative when you're looking to abuse the application, though. So for me, that took a lot of practice. Some people, though, are just naturally good at it, but you all are going to have an opportunity to get lots of practice with this while you're working through our boot camp event. So those key attributes, again, are: number one, try to gain as much understanding as you can about how the application was built. What technologies were used? Number two, be creative with your inputs. Don't give the application what it wants. Give it something different. And then three, see how it reacts to what you did. Look for those small changes. Did a new parameter appear in the URL address bar? 4, take good notes. Copy and paste is your friend today. Don't rely on your memory. 5, be evil to the application, but also be creative. So It's important to know, though, that if you do this where you don't have permission, it can get you into trouble because it's illegal. Now, places where we do have permission, you have permission to do this on the shred application. I'm giving it to you. So I want you to be able to shred. However, don't go after our event and try this on where you bank or where you shop, because that could get you into trouble, and hiring attorneys is expensive. Now, if you are a member of a development team, you do have permission to do this in your development and testing environments, because when you do it there, it's called security test cases. But when you do it in a production environment, they are called attacks. It's the same thing, but it's all about context. So the ground rules for you today are: only attack your instance of the shred application. That's where you're going to be scoring points. There aren't any vulnerabilities in the operating system. There aren't any vulnerabilities like in an Apache layer or a framework layer like Rails or Struts. So you don't have to worry about those. Just focus on the application shred. That's where the vulnerabilities are present. Now remember, the search engine is your friend. Whichever one you love using, I would take advantage of that. Lots of times that the instructors will get questions that could have easily been answered by just Googling it. So take advantage of your search engine. Now, the instructors are here. So I will tell you how to access the instructors in just a moment. Now, if you do find the names of some of the people that have accounts in Shred, of course, those aren't real people. We've populated the database with these people. But if you wanted to see if any of them have social media accounts, that would be fair game, because you can look at any site for research purposes. And if you found an email address from one of those people and you wanted to send them a phishing email to social engineer them out of sensitive data, well, that would be fair game too. You could do that. Just make sure you aren't attacking any social media sites that a user of Shred may be using. And that includes don't try to guess or reset their passwords because, hey, we're using those. So just focus your attacks on the Shred application. Also, when you gain access to Shred, I definitely recommend creating an account in Shred. But don't use your real information when you create that account, because Shred is a very vulnerable website that is live on the internet. So other people could possibly find it if they were searching for vulnerable sites. So just use fake information when you create your account in Shred. So if you've never If you've never participated in an event like this before, you're not sure where to start. Once you click on that green play button, you'll have a new tab appear in your browser that will take you to the Shred application. Now, if you're not sure how to look for vulnerabilities, you haven't done it before, that's fine, because on the command and control platform, we have a cyber range cheat sheet. It's called our hacking cheat sheet. And we have a menu option called Hacking 101. And underneath that is a option called Guides. And that will take you to our hacking cheat sheet. It's a couple of pages of short descriptions of lots of common web application vulnerabilities and some information about how to find and test for those vulnerabilities. So great place to start if you've never done this before. If you have done this before, and after playing around on Shred for a while, you're not finding any more vulnerabilities, I still recommend take a look at that cheat sheet. Maybe there's a vulnerability listed there that you haven't even started to look for yet. And you are more than welcome to work together. In the email that we sent out to everyone, we have a Discord channel listed there, so you could always join that channel and communicate with each other and work together. You're more than welcome to do that. And I know there's a scoreboard, so it looks competitive, but we want you to learn as much as possible while you have access to the Shred Cyber Range. So if you want to work together, that is absolutely fine. And remember, don't forget about social media. Don't forget about search engines. Use them. There's so much information about web application vulnerabilities. There's so much that you can read for hours and hours and hours. So take advantage of that because it will be helpful when you're looking for the vulnerabilities in Shred. Now, I was talking about how to communicate with the instructors. Once you log into the command and control platform, in the bottom right-hand corner is an icon that looks like a black teardrop. That is your access to our Fresh Chat system. You can click on that teardrop and a chat window will open, and you can type any questions you have in there, and they will be sent to one of our instructors who will then respond to them. Now, for our time together today, we will be monitoring that and be able to respond to you very quickly. After, you will still have access to that chat feature, but we may not be able to respond as quick. So just be aware, we will get to them, just not as quickly as in the time we have together today. But definitely take advantage of that feature because we want to answer any questions that you have. And we're happy to give you hints if you're not sure what to look at, or maybe you're looking at a page and you're thinking, oh, I know there's a vulnerability here and I can't get it to work. We actually might know that there isn't a vulnerability there. And so we'll let you know so you can go to other locations that are more target worthy of your time. All right, everyone. So have fun with this event. Explore Shred. Be evil to it. Let us know if you're having any issues starting Shred. You can pop any questions right here in the chat window on Zoom. And I'm going to be here for until 5 p.m. Eastern time with you. I will be performing a couple learning labs with you where I will be walking through the Shred application and just talking about some of the topics that are helpful in understanding more about application security. So good luck, everyone. Have fun with this. And I'll be speaking to you soon when we get to our first learning lab.